McMichael describes the Globalization Project as being about market integration, legitimacy management, and resistance. This project developed as a response to the large-scale inequality worldwide through joint efforts on behalf of the World Trade Organization and the UN. McMichael emphasizes that this project has two faces, that of the unprecedented prosperity of a minority of investors and consumers, and that of the devastating poverty, displacement, insecurity, and health crises experienced by the vast majority of the global population. The key practices that globalization that I'm going to discuss in the presentation are poverty governance, outsourcing, and displacement. The other practices of informalization and recolonization should be covered by the other graduate student presentation. Poverty governance is a system which seeks to rebuild countries classified as high-interest poor countries through agreements between national governments and NGOs. These agreements, called Poverty Reduction Strategy Papers, put the national governments under the supervision of NGOs with the hope of increasing government legitimacy using budget monitoring and the promotion of market access. The collaboration with NGOs also opens the opportunity for greater civil involvement by making available microloans to the poor. These low-interest loans hope to redirect the social capital held in the country into entrepreneurial activities. In the United States, we are very familiar with the concept of outsourcing. It is an economic strategy that relocates goods and/or services as a method of cost reduction and a way to increase operational flexibility. Outsourcing has become significant to the global economy for several reasons, including the hypermobility of capital combined with the deregulation of labor, as well as the privatization of many goods and services once provided by the state. The McMichael chapter gives many examples of the pros and cons of specific instances of outsourcing, but in general they boil down to this: the rich get richer and the poor get exploited. In situations of mobility capital, those who are willing to work the longest for the least amount of pay get the jobs. This has led to a southern migration of goods and services, creating swells of wealth for the governments of the countries, and subjecting workers in India, the Caribbean, and China to long hours and poor working conditions, low pay with no contractual obligations, and few, if any, benefits. The privatization of goods and services generally provided by the state has led to privatization monopolies, which essentially mean that those who can pay for services get services provided to them, and those who are not able to pay for services get left out. Displacement occurs when there are not enough resources to fulfill everyone's needs in a given society. Here in the global north, the most familiar way to look at displacement is through the lens of unemployment. Between 1973 and 2000, unemployment rates went from 10 to 50 million persons. The two most commonly cited causes for this spike are the casualization of labor, which includes automation or machines, and outsourcing to different areas of the country or to different countries altogether. And then the second reason is the redundancy of the workforce, which can be attributed to the lack of movement of laborers, either up the chain of command or to different parts of the country that have the position they need. Globally, displacement occurs for several additional reasons. McMichael cites the dismantling of local production industries in favor of importing goods. So people stop producing items in their own country and rather bring them in from out of their own country or out of the country, as well as privatization of the public sector, which we talked about on the last slide. A third reason is forced resettlement due to infrastructure. If they are needing to build a dam or to do another, like a reforestation project, a lot of people will become resettled because of that. Civil war is another main cause of displacement abroad, and the destabilization of rural communities in favor of cities due to services and the provisions. Some countries around the world have implemented policies of displacement in which they export labor to receive remittances, which is money that is paid to them for supplying labor, and they're able to use this money to repay their debts. The migrants who are sent abroad from their countries are often forced to work long hours in harsh conditions and are often denied any workers' rights or protections. This is where you see a lot of trafficking, and a lot of the underground industries will crop up.